Hello, everyone, and welcome into EKU Football's weekly Zoom press conference. We're joined as always by head football coach Walt Wells, and today we're also joined by defensive back Derek Taylor and quarterback Miles Burkett. We'll get to them later. Coach, we'll start as always with your opening statement about last week's game and this upcoming matchup against Southern Utah, and then we'll open up to questions from the media. If you have a question for Coach, please message me in the chat and we'll make sure we get to you. With that, Coach, take it away.
All right, great. Thanks for everybody being here today. Always good to go on the road and get a win. It was fun for our team and really proud of the way all three phases played. I thought we played our best complementary football of the season, both offensively, defensively, and special teams wise with 60 minutes, not just 30 minutes on one side or anything like that. So really, really pleased with our players and our staff and how they bounced back after the Tarleton game and got our guys refocused. I really thought it started with the week of practice. It rained every day at practice, and every day we had really good practices. And of course, we don't have an indoor, and I'm not complaining about that. I'm just stating the facts. We were out in the elements, and and then we get down there and it's raining. I'm like, well, great. That's why we were practicing it. And then as soon as the kickoff came, the sun came out as bright as it could, and we had a great day. So really, really proud of our football team and how they prepared last week. And that's what it's going to take this week for a really, really physical, a really good Southern Utah football team that focuses on running the football. They have a really good tailback. Number 28, he does a great job of running the ball. He's got good speed. I think he's a transfer from UTEP. Their quarterbacks are efficient. They play two of them. But play one a little more than the other one, but both of them are efficient in what they do, and their offensive line is physical and comes off the ball. So it'll be a challenge for our defense. And then, defensively, they present challenges. Number 7, you got to find him and understand how hard he plays, how well he plays. And he was out the first half last week, I think, because of a targeting. And so, didn't get to see him. You get to see him all the games before, obviously, but in the first half of the Austin P game, you could tell it was a difference. And from the first half to the second half for them defensively, not only is he a great player, but he brings a lot of juice. And so we've got to have a great week of practice, and we need a great crowd out here at Roy Kidd Stadium for I think it's a 3 o'clock kick, and make sure that everybody's giving us all they can give us. And we appreciate the crowds that we've had so far. And we want to get back in that win column. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
All right, Michael Watkins.
Coach, it seemed like after the game there was a lot of emotion in the locker room. Saw the video of you where you did the Ric Flair woo, I think it was. But just talk about that. I mean, out of 2 rough weeks where there were some things that you all wanted to do, couldn't really get done in those 2 losses. But to get back in the win column, just talk about the emotion after the game.
Well, I think what you're talking about, I don't know. I think somebody sent me that video. That was actually before the game. We were sitting in there, and one of our players that traveled with us, Hunter Gully, from over at George Rogers Clark, he's kind of a juice box guy. He's our backup center right now, and doing a great job. But I guess he was screaming, and you couldn't tell where we were sitting at, screaming and yelling, and just really being probably a 20-year-old kid, having fun and excited about football, and it just bled throughout the team. And that's what we needed. We needed energy, and so we carried out onto the field and did a great job. And then after the game, I think everybody, winning is fun. I say it all the time. Winning is living. In this profession, it's living. And I think everybody was happy to be, back in the win column. We played some first halves where we should have won some games, and then we haven't played in the second half like we should. And for us to come back out in the second half and play the way we should against a good Central Arkansas team, I felt like, we did what we had to do. And I think everybody was excited, and makes the bus ride back to Little Rock a little better, and then the flight back to Lexington a lot better. So I think everybody was excited in the locker room that we're going to get home by midnight and, and not 7 a.m. the next day. So it was a fun locker room. I've never had an issue with this team as far as how hard they work, the enjoyment of coaching them. It's not like you walk out there and say, I don't want to coach this guy today. I don't want to coach this. I don't want to, there are teams, and there's good teams sometimes that's like, just because there's always something. And, even though we had a little bit last week, there really wasn't a whole lot. I mean, we have a young man on our team that's battling something, and we've got some good news on him. And so, I think our kids understood a little better this week that it can be taken away from you. And so, all that being said, I think, the guys were excited about the win and about beating Central Arkansas.
All right, so you weren't Ric Flair for Halloween, correct? We're just getting that over
No,
with.
no,
Okay,
no.
all right, just making sure, just making sure.
We made sure the GA stayed in the locker room or in the lobby of the hotel for Halloween because we didn't want anybody sneaking out.
But talk about the connection from Miles to Marcus. I mean, those two guys had an incredible performance. So, what was the key to unlocking that?
Well, yeah, congratulations to Marcus for winning Player of the Week in the conference, and I just think it just finally started coming together. I mean, when you've only been together less than a year, and people kind of started focusing on Marcus and trying to do things coverage wise to take him away. I don't think they decided that. I think they, after a while, when you're not connecting, people realize, well, maybe we don't need to do that. And they didn't do that. And it gave us an opportunity to get the ball to Marcus more. I thought Andy Richmond had a great plan together, and the offensive staff, and Caleb Cox and Maxwell Smith and all of them. And I thought that gave them the opportunity to get the ball. I thought we spread it around pretty good too. I mean, Jackson House had a really nice catch there on that first drive to keep that thing going. So I think it was a 3rd and long, maybe, or 2nd and long. I can't remember. But it was a long, heck, if the ball would have been up a little bit, he could have maybe walked into the end zone. And so I think by spraying it around a little bit, it also helps out. And so really proud of their work and the extra work they've been putting in to get better.
All right, last one for me. This is the matchup with Southern Utah. Would you prefer this game be played in Utah, or are you happy to have this one at home?
Oh, I'm glad to have this one at home. I'm glad the last time that I think we'll play a Utah team, unless it's in the playoffs or something. They're a great, really good, well coached, good football team. I mean, they play physical on both sides of the ball, and they do what they do, and they do it well. But I'm glad we don't have to go sit in that altitude. And some people say it's overrated. Just look what Cincinnati had to put up with when they went to Utah this past week. I mean, it's real, and the altitude is real, and you have to learn to adjust to it. And I think those are some of the things that make college football great, make it a home field advantage for all. And I don't think we handled it well last year. And that's no disrespect to Southern Utah. As far as how they played and everything like that, it's not just the altitude that won the game for them. They won the game, and we got to be better at that. We made plenty of mistakes, but they also forced us into those mistakes. So we know who we have coming in here, and we better be ready to go.
All right, Keith Farmer.
Coach, have you found some? I feel like like Stoops has talked about some young talent kind of stepping up and everything, and some other coaches you hear, oh, it's finally like light bulbs going off kind of thing. Are you
Right.
seeing some of that, and does that kind of get you excited for the future?
No doubt about it. I mean, I thought our offensive line played the best game probably they played, and I think it's because we kind of settled in on the lineups, and now they've played 4 or 5 games in a row together, and things started clicking a little better for them. I think defensively, there's some, we're a little older crew there, so we don't see it as much. But then even in our receiver department, it's been one after another. Tight end, the same thing. And so I think you see the growth. I mean, a lot of times people got to make mistakes and see it and learn it and then rep it and get better from it. It's easy to say you can go out there and do it, but then to go out there and do it, it's hard to do. And once you get the repetition and the continued work, and you stay healthy and you don't have to miss time and start all over, I think it's vital. I think you see it all over the country, because what's happening now is everybody's getting thinned out on the roster. And I don't care where you're at. It's either people are leaving or people are, leaving and moving down or leaving and moving up or however it goes. So your roster's not as thick as it used to be. So you've got to play these young guys early, and sometimes they're just going to make mistakes, and you just got to fight through it and live with the results. And hopefully you're good enough to overcome them. But if you're not, you got to live through it.
All right. Any other questions for Coach? Not seeing any. Coach, thank you as always for your time. Oh, wait, Dick, you have one question for Coach?
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it just here, Walt, but I'm wondering, is there one area in particular where you've seen more growth in your team compared to the start of the year?
Well, I think the two positions on offense are at quarterback and at offensive line. I think with Miles, it's just a situation of him getting used to what we do, how we do things, how Andy Richmond, our offensive coordinator, is going to call the game. And then just going through, the expectations of how we want that offense to run. I think up front, whenever you have to replace 4 out of 5 starters, it's hard. I mean, it's just, you look at Texas, prime example, they had to do that, right? And look at where they're coming now. Look at Arch. He's a starter for the first time, and look at how he's starting to play now. I mean, the more reps you get, the better you should, and then it should become. And if you're not getting better, then you got to look at why, and then figure it out. And so we've been fortunate to have the same. We play about 7 offensive linemen. We've been fortunate, or 8. We've been fortunate to have those same guys rotating and working together. And now they are starting to understand, all right, when the defense does this, it's normal. But then when they add a blitz or add a twist or add something, there's certain calls you have to make. What do those calls mean? Who are those calls going to? And why are we doing that? And at first they just call it. And then you got to teach them, this is why you're calling it. And this is why you're calling it in this situation. And so the exposure to all that, Dick, just makes it so much better. So for us, it's those two positions. You're seeing that's where we had the most inexperience on our football team, and we're starting to see the results of that coming through.
Thank you.
All right. Now that we don't have any more questions for Coach, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good day.
See
You
you
too.
all.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Well, I'll bring in Derek Taylor, defensive back for the Colonels.
How's it going?
All right. Thank you, Derek. And we'll welcome in Michael Watkins' first questions.
Derek, when you look at the early on in the game, I think it was, another teammate going down with an injury. So, second time back-to-back road games, something like that happens for you guys. How hard is it to see a teammate go down and then have to refocus and still go out there and do your job?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely hard mentally to see 2 of your brothers go down, not just Cade in that game, but we've also seen Jamon go down as well. So just seeing that and knowing how we finished the North Alabama game, I was just like, we couldn't have the same result. So ultimately, everybody on the defense played with an even harder edge.
On defense, it seems like it's been somebody different every week making an impact, whether that be Vito or Cam Jr. Gurley's had some big performances. So how does it feel as a defense to know that on any given night somebody else is going to step up and make plays for you?
Yeah, I think the good thing about our defense is we really all feed off each other. So, like, when you see Gurley's in there making plays, like on the back end, it's like, okay, we're doing our job, holding it down on the back end, and now our brother's making a play. And so it's vice versa, and they help us out on the back end as well. And so just knowing that you go out there and do your job, the person next to you is going to do his job to the best of his ability, and you're going to have a chance to make the same plays.
All right. Hugh Farmer.
This Southern Utah team looks like can put up some points. What have you seen from them? Have you already started on them, or what do you know about them?
Yeah, I've watched some film on Southern Utah. Obviously, they have a very talented running back. They, like Coach said, they do what they do. They're a very tough team. They're going to want to run the ball on us, and I think, we're getting better every week at stopping the run, and we take that challenge on the chin, and we just got to go out there with a hard edge. And I think playing a Roy Kid's also going to have a factor for us as well.
All right, Dick Gabriel.
Yeah, I'm wondering about same question I asked Coach, but talk about the defensive improvement from opening day to now. Where and how are you guys better?
Yeah, I think, like I was just saying, we're definitely a lot better in the run game, starting out Louisville and then just compared to now, just everybody knows the person next to them's job, and we're just all fitting off each other way better in the run. And another area I would say is just zone drops as well.
And again, you guys have taken a lot of pride in the home field. I know you had a stumble this year, but talk about being back in the kid.
Yeah, definitely a lot of excitement being back at home. Ultimately, we want to start a new streak. So just going out here this week, being 1-0, and we got 2 home games left. So just finishing out strong.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, Derek, thank you so much for your time, man. Really appreciate it. We'll now bring in Miles Burkett, quarterback for the Colonels. All right, Miles, you got us?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Michael, start us off.
Miles, we've seen you make plays with your arm, make plays with your leg. In games this year, you were able to do both and have a lot of success against Central Arkansas. What was the difference in this game as to what you've been able to do throughout the year so far?
Yeah, I think I'm just finding my, identity within this offense week by week, finding things that work, finding ways I can affect the game and open some other things up for us. I think using my legs this year is something that I really didn't do last season a lot. And that's something that's kind of added a different element, kind of being like that third running back almost. And then also opening things up in the pass game with that dynamic as well, where they got to account for me in the run game as well. So I think it's really just finding my identity in the offense. Like Coach Wells said, I'm learning how to play, with this unit week by week, and week by week I'm getting even better.
Where would you say your confidence level is just for yourself, 1 through 10, right now going into Southern Utah?
It's a 10. It's always a 10. And that's not because it's arrogant. I think it's just, that I have pieces around me. I have, the plan for me that gives me the ability to have that confidence. And especially playing at home this week, we're playing a really talented football team, but we're a really talented football team. So my confidence is always a 10. My preparation is always going to allow me to have that confidence, and the guys around me are always going to give me that confidence.
All right, last one from me. Coach Wells talked about the vibe in the locker room. You guys were, kind of getting fired up, getting riled up before the game, and obviously, happy after a victory. What was it like in the locker room after the 2 losses, and the difference in what it was like after this win on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, nobody likes to lose. I mean, it sucks to lose, right? So when you're in the locker room after those games, especially, last week, losing at home for the first time in a long time, the energy can be sucked from a room like that. So I think, like Coach said, Hunter Gully did a great job of pregame, giving us that juice, giving us that motivation, and then guys kind of, echoing that energy throughout the rest of the team. And I think we needed it. And this win was needed. I think there was a desperation. I think you showed that at practice last week, the desperation of, trying to get a win this week. And, I think that should carry into this week as well.
Miles, we talked about the defense kind of, improving and everything, but do you go into this game, expecting a shootout when you see, what Southern Utah can do offensively?
Yeah, I always kind of compare it to like Austin P. Austin P was a team that was going to be okay with the shootout, and we're going to have to show up. So this team is no different, right? I think the least amount of points they've scored this season was 24. So if you don't score 24 points, you're probably not going to win the game. So we got to be ready to be able to come out and put points up on a scoreboard. This isn't a game where we can kind of just sit around and hope the defense keeps us in the game. This is a game we're gonna have to come out like we did last week from the get and score points. So I think we're prepared. I think we got some confidence. Some guys that needed it got some, and I think we're ready to go.
Kind of along those lines, have you seen like guys? I was asking Coach earlier, that it's kind of clicked for them now, and they're stepping up their game.
Yeah, I mean, I think across the board, when you look at the offensive line, I think those guys, they're kind of playing like a band of brothers now. They're not really trying to let each other down or let me down. And then obviously at the wide receiver position, you got some younger guys that are extremely talented that are now showing it. And then I think our two running backs, they're just consistent. They're just the model of consistent every single week, and they find their spots and then they make their mark on the game every single week.
All right. Dick Gabriel.
Yeah, Michael pretty much asked what I was going to ask, but I'll just follow up with a question. You were talking about using your legs as well. Is that something new to your game, or have you done that in the past and you just needed to incorporate it into this offense?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been like a guy who can stress the defense with his legs, but I've always took such an emphasis of trying to sit in the pocket and be a distributor. And I think that's something I still do. But I think that because the success that I've had with my legs and the ability to open up a different kind of, portal to our offense with my legs, I think that I've kind of stressed that, maybe this 8-yard scramble might be better than this 6-yard completion. Or maybe even an 8-yard scramble might be better than a 10-yard completion just because of the dynamic it might change within the defense's mindset. So I'm kind of picking and choosing my spots. I don't want to be a guy who's like 1-2 run. I don't think that's ever going to be my game. But I think that, there is some merit to being able to use my legs and be able to stress the defense and make them have to dictate to us instead of the other way around.
Thanks.
All right. Not seeing any other questions. Miles, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us today. Media members, thank you for joining us on the weekly EKU football press conference. And we will look forward to seeing you all on Saturday. Have a good
See
day.
y'all.
Thanks.